Wait for me, I'm coming, 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 I'm coming. I'm here. Hey everybody, it is me. It's Rex the dog. Maybe you know me, maybe you don't. I don't know. But I thought that I wanted to start doing a few more kind of vlogs because I do the laundry vlogs where, you know, we habit stack, you know. I'm doing my laundry, I'm putting it out to dry, and at the same time I record a vlog for you guys, which is great because, like, I enjoy doing that. I enjoy an excuse to put on the fursuit and yap away and all that sort of stuff. And it's just like a fun method of me also getting my thoughts out there, getting my feelings, like, you know, out there in the world. So, at the very least, just for myself, for like own sort of personal self-reflection and whatever. And I thought, hey, we did a couple of cooking streams recently. Well, no, that's a lie. We did a cooking stream ages ago, and then we did another one recently, and it was like, oh, that was fun. Just sometimes the scheduling of it for streams doesn't work out too great, so I thought, hey, we'll make an effort so we can schedule like streams cooking more often. But we can also just do like, hey, when I'm just cooking here on my own, I can just put the camera on and we can yap. And we can just add some like relatable content of me cooking away in the kitchen. Which is what we're doing here today. Just kind of like one of my go-to meals, man. I mean, you see this a lot with me, just stuff where you've got kind of like ground meat. And, you know, you're doing different things with it in a pan. So, whether it's like we're making burritos, whether we're making, you know, stuff to put inside empanadas, whether we're making cannelloni, lasagna, spaghetti bolognese, chili con carne, you know, anything kind of like that. You know, for me, that's food I really, really enjoy. Like, I really, really enjoy that kind of food. And also, it's like, it's good meal prep stuff as well. Not that I'm like, dude, it's not like I'm a massive sort of like, oh, I like to just like stockpile all my meals or whatever. Like, I enjoy actually the act of cooking. I enjoy doing it, but I'm not going to deny that like cooking up like a big batch or something that I can split into like 5-6 meals and like freeze a bunch of them. It is a big time saver. And I'm somebody with like a lot of hobbies, you know, and a lot of interests and a lot of self-imposed obligations, you know, stuff that I want to do. So having some stuff like that where I just like, I can in a pinch, you know, pull those out the freezer or whatever is something that's like incredibly useful to me. Incredibly useful. So chopping onions here. Onions. I love me some onions. Now I'm a little bit of a strange one because I put, this isn't super common, but this isn't like super weird either. And somebody puts onion in the pan first. Because I like my onions to be like super, super caramelized. So I want to like get those like that, then put the meat in. Dude, do we even have garlic? Am I short on garlic? No, we got garlic. Yeah, we got garlic. There we go. Alright, let's put a few cloves in here. Get a few cloves of garlic. 1 clove. I want garlic. I like me some garlic. 2 cloves. 3 cloves. 3 clovers. Let's frickin' go. Let's rock and roll. Cool. Boing. Boing, boing. Alright, cool. But yeah, so I think this is fun. I do think this is also kind of like, you know, not because we're like chasing views or anything, but I do think this is kind of like interesting sort of fursuity stuff that people like to see as well. But maybe I should come into these videos with a topic instead of just sort of rambling away here. Dude, I would like to improve my my chopping skills though, for real. Because, I mean, not that they're really bad, but like I do know that they could be better. Clean up bowl, really, dude. If you're cooking, you want to freaking clean up bowl. It's so much easier. It's what they do. It's what they do in kitchens, right? I'm not talking about like sorry, everyone's got a kitchen. I'm talking about kitchens in a professional sense, But it's so convenient because I can just be chucking stuff there and like, okay, maybe you got a handy dandy bin, like I do, that's like right there. But if I can just be like chucking this on the table, and then as that fills up, I can go to the bin, or the relevant bins, right? If you've got like, food waste bin and packaging bin and whatever and all that sort of thing for various recyclings, then it's just like, dude, we're good to go. HOTT, hot to go, HOT. Okay. Chop these a bit. This is a little bit trickier to see what I'm doing here with the garlic bread. If anyone else was born in Britain like me, dude, a little bit scratchy in my nose. That's a good idea. Chop garlic, and then scratch your nose with the garlic finger. It's a top tip from Rex. But yeah, man, I've always really enjoyed cooking. Like, it's not been something that's like been joyless to me. I definitely like grew up in a house where like we cooked, like all of the meals we were eating were basically like home cooked and stuff like that. We weren't like we didn't really have, because we couldn't afford it either. Like, like takeout food and stuff like that was like a special treat for us. Like, I know there's some people who like, they have the routine of like, like every Friday night or every Saturday night or whatever, like they get their like curry takeaway, or they get the pizzas, or they get whatever. It's like, that wasn't really like a thing for us growing up. Like when I was a kid with my family and whatever, we didn't really have like the, we weren't poor, right? But we lived within our means, and it was more like, we didn't do those kinds of things. Like, we didn't eat out a lot, and we didn't like, get like takeout. We didn't get all these like fancy, fancy things or whatever, like a lot of the time. But I mean, it wasn't like a sacrifice, because like we'd be having like good home cooked food all the time, and I kind of like learned the importance of that and the nutrition of that. And then as I started to like age up, my dad as well. So my dad would do a lot of the cooking too. He'd be like, okay, like, I'm gonna teach you how to make this thing, I'm gonna teach you how to make that thing, I'm gonna teach you the use of this, I'm gonna teach you how to take bones and reduce them to a stock, and like, all this sort of thing. I did eventually, briefly work in like a pub kitchen and stuff like that, so I got like a bit more savvy during that time as well, but I definitely learned a lot about food and like the importance of nutrition and cooking from a financial standpoint as well. Learning to kind of like finance and like buying your foods and whatever, and making foods from that, and then it relating back to nutrition and health and like all that sort of stuff. So really, really grateful for that. But back to the topic of like, it's really cool because like both my mom and my dad were cooking and all that sort of thing, and like learning from them and eating food, because I liked the stuff they made. There was actually there was like a chow mein that my dad made. That was like kind of whack, to be honest. It was kind of whack, but I ate it. But it's just like, it couldn't have been better. Do you know what I mean? Like, it could have been better. But no, to be fair, that might have just been my appetites at the time. Maybe I tried it now, I think it was sick. But yeah, so we didn't spend a lot. We didn't have a lot of money that was spent on like takeouts and stuff like that. But like, to be fair, like the money that was like, my parents were good for us going on like vacations, holidays, and like visiting different places and stuff like that, because like they're as I said, we weren't rich or anything like that, but their handling of money and their handling of those sorts of things like throughout the year allowed them to like save up, so we could go on a vacation somewhere, so we could like go to places like in Europe. We did go to like North America a couple of times, you know what I mean, and like do those sorts of things, which were for our family, for our like working class family, was sort of like above our means in a way, but it's because they were so not frugal. It wasn't frugality, because like we were eating good food and stuff like that, but just like the fact that we weren't getting, because I remember like people would be getting like Domino's pizzas or whatever like every week, as our family and whatever, and like that can cost like that was costing like 20, 30, 40 whatever pounds and stuff, and we'd just be like making our own food or like getting like the frozen pizzas or stuff, and it was still nice, you know what I mean? It was still good. Honestly, getting stuff like that, getting like the frozen pizzas or like the cold pizzas or whatever that the refrigerated pizzas even you get from the supermarket, that at home, that was like a special, like nice day for us. But I'm definitely grateful for, I think as you get older, you can kind of like reflect on stuff that went down in your like growing up and like your family life and stuff like that. And I'm definitely grateful for a lot of factors of my upbringing. Definitely grateful for a lot of factors of my upbringing. No, I'm gonna say like all of them. You know what I mean? Like all of them. You take the good with the bad, and there was not a lot of bad. Like I cannot think of a thing to complain about. Really, I had a nice upbringing. My family really did a lot of stuff in our best interests. Us as in me and my brothers and the dogs. So do I count as one of the dogs? Maybe I do. I don't know. So what we're doing here is we're just making a really simple spaghetti bolognese here. So we got the onions in there. We got those browning. We got those caramelizing quite nicely there. We got a bunch of garlic in there as well. Love me some garlic. It's gonna be really simple. We're gonna add some ground beef to this. We're gonna let that brown. After that browns, we're gonna start adding a bunch of tomato in. And we will season it with all that kind of good stuff like oregano and all that stuff, pepper and yada yada yada. And I'll have a nice little batch here, which I can, I'll have some sort of immediately. I'll have some for my meal today, and then I'll put the rest in little baggies, put them in the freezer. And I got a system at the moment with the freezer. Is on the front of the freezer, I've got one here as well, but I'm not gonna take it off. I've got like magnetic whiteboards, and I've got that on the freezer, and I've got it divided by like shelf, and I'm writing what's on each shelf in the whiteboards, so I know what's there. Because the freezer, I feel, can be like this just like absolute like eternal, black hole where all this kind of stuff just like dies in the freezer and you never see it return or come back or or anything like that. So I'm labeling on that. And then also another thing I do, now this might be real overkill and you might think this is crazy, but this really helps me out as well. If I put 3 bags, so let's say I got 4 out of this. So I eat 1 portion of single living, meal for 1. I get 1 portion of spaghetti bolognese out of that, boom. I put 3 more in bags. I used to do it in the Tupperware, but now I find it putting them in the bags is a lot more like what's the word? It's a lot more ergonomic. It's stacking the Tetris blocks a little bit better in the freezer. Dude, is this entertaining? Is this worth your time? Anyway, I put them in the bags now. So let's say I put 3 bags in there. I will add to my Google Calendar 3 meals of bolognese, and then I can just drag them to whatever day I want, right? And I find that like really helps my meal planning and stuff like that. If I'm just like, when I buy like food or when I have something ready, I add it to my Google Calendar. And I can just drag them around, and then after a couple of meals, basically what happens is like the next like week and a half like fills up with everything I'm eating, and I'm like, boom, I'm sorted, like it's all taken care of, I know what I'm doing, and it's just one less thing to think about. That's mainly what it is for me, is when stuff's in the calendar, I don't have to think about it anymore. I don't have to think about when I'm gonna have that bolognese. It's in the calendar, it's like, it's there, and then if it does, I'm not beholden to that either, because on Google Calendar you can drag things really, really easily. So if it's like, it is Thursday tomorrow, and I've said I'm having bolognese tomorrow, I'm like, oh, I don't want that tomorrow, I can just drag that to Friday, drag that to Saturday, and it's fine. Yeah, and it's still like kept track of, and it's still there. Now this might sound insane to you, but it really, really, really works for me. I've been doing this system now, like, to kind of this level, for probably like 8 months now. probably like 8 months now. I mean, I've done that to like, you know, various levels or whatever, but in like that current incarnation, I've been doing that for like 8 months now, and I gotta tell you, it's been working really well for me. And honestly, I think that like all those tiny little habits in the vein of that, which I've sort of like stacked up over time, I do think that they're really responsible for why I've been able to cultivate so much free time. There's like a lot of people who are like, dude, like, you know, like, how do you like work out, you do sports, you go to like music concerts, you do stuff with your friends, you're like streaming 2 or 3 hours a day, you're doing all this other stuff, but like, how do you have time to do that? And it's honestly an accumulation of all those like tiny things which have stacked together. An accumulation of those stacked together has really honestly like freed up my time in such a way that I can fit all those things in. Or even stuff where I'm kind of like habit stacking and merging things together. Because, right, like, when did you have time to make this YouTube video? Well, I had time to make this YouTube video when I was freaking cooking my pasta. You know what I mean? So kind of putting things together. Now, I've learned the hard way. That route isn't the best one. Is not the best one. Because, okay, like, coming up with all these, like, systems and whatever to, like, you know, automate portions of your life or remove things that you need to think about in your brain. Now, that's sick, right? Like, you know, on, like, a minor scale, it's like, you know, it's that whole kind of theory, that whole idea of, like, you put the clothes you're gonna wear tomorrow out ready the night before, so when you wake up, you don't need to think about it, but bum, it's ready, let's boom. Yeah? And, like, the mental power doesn't have to be used, right? And it's time-saving as well. Cool. That's the idea behind putting my bolognese in the Google Calendar. Great, cool, you know, more time. That's why Mark Zuckerberg, not that I love Mark Zuckerberg, but that's why he wears the same clothes every day. Doesn't need to think about it. Or was that Steve Jobs? Or was it both? I think it's both. The uniform, whatever, right? That stuff's great. I'd recommend any sort of things you can, like, make systematic. Wonderful. Perfect. I would do that. Now, habit stacking, though, I would be careful with. Because it can result in a situation, I've learned this the hard way, where you're doing a few things at the same time and you're not really experiencing, like, any of them. You're not, like, experiencing any of them at all, right? So, I'm kind of careful about that. Now this right now, I think the experience of chopping things up and whatever, I feel like can talk to you while I'm doing this. But there's other things where it's like, it's good to like commit yourself to one task and enjoy that task and fully, you know, immerse yourself in that task. And not just like multitask and everything blurs into one. Because I've tried to do that a few times. I've tried to do like 3 things at the same time, and at the end of it, I didn't really experience any of it, and it was all just kind of noise. So, I would be careful with that one, of just like, oh, I can like maximize my time by doing like 4 things at the same time. No, that might not be a great idea. Some things, yeah, like listening to a podcast while you brush your teeth. Great, let's do it. That's great. That's wonderful. Right? Listening to an audiobook while playing a video game? I don't think so. Right? You know, and I've kind of tried that stuff before. Unless the game is like really like, you know, it's like Tetris or something like that. But, you know, it's really just sort of like muscle memory and yeah. But even then, dude, I don't really honestly think that's super possible, you know. So I kind of try to be a little bit careful about that. But that's kind of a system I do for kind of like organizing my food. And as I said, I feel it's been going really well after kind of like 8 months of that going on. And it all just feels like a little bit more intentional as well. You know, I think something an issue that people have with, you know, organizing cooking or nutrition or stuff like that is, you know, they're short on time and they're like, oh man, I gotta have something to eat. So I am trying, you know, again in my calendar, I have scheduled on the Sunday. It's like, oh hey, I'm gonna plan out everything I'm gonna cook, I'm gonna eat for the next week. And obviously, you allow room for changes, right? Last week, for example, I think it was like Thursday night, I was gonna have a steak. Some friends called me, they're like, would you like to come to this sushi place with you? I was like, I'm not going to be like, no, because I planned on Sunday that I was going to have steak today. I was like, no, I'm able to do that. That sounds great. Let's go get sushi together. So went out, we had sushi, it was nice, and I took that steak that was in the Google Calendar, and I just dragged that a few days ahead, you know? So it allows, like, you know, a level of... People seem to think that, like, scheduling your life and all that sort of thing, like, locks you down, and then you're just beholden to it. You're beholden to it like a timetable, like the timetable you had at school. You were beholden to the timetable at school because, like, that was imposed on you. If you are the person creating the schedule and you're the person creating the timetable, then you have the ability, you have the autonomy, you have the executive decision to go, hey, I'm gonna move this thing from today to tomorrow. I'm gonna delete this thing altogether. I'm gonna make this thing twice as long. You have the autonomy to do that. Now, of course, if you're constantly doing that, and you've got no respect for your timetable at all, then it's all going to fall apart and it's going to be useful to you. But then I also raise the question of why did you put all those things that you were never going to do and you have no intention on working on in your timetable? Right? So then I think that does come to a little moment of self-reflection as well about what the hell were you doing and what the hell's going on. This is browning up quite nicely, so next thing we're going to do is going to add in some tomatoes. I'm adding a lot of tomatoes. Because what we got here is we got kind of the... Why did I just get like a flash of light there? I don't know what happened there. I've got just like the peeled, you know, sort of chopped tomatoes there. And then I've got the reduced tomato as well. I adore the taste of tomatoes. Do I have tomato juice in here? I think I probably do. Oh, I do, but it's like stacked on top of some other things on the bottom shelf. I like tomato juice. I like tomatoes. I like, you know, like, I like whole tomatoes in a salad. I like cherry tomatoes as a snack. I like tomatoes and fruit. Like tomatoes. Oh, you say tomato, I say tomato. That's not the melody. That is not the melody. Oh, there you go. So no, I'm a big fan of that stuff. For real. And I do think with here, when I'm putting in like a kilogram, I can't remember what that is in pounds, when I'm putting in like a kilogram of ground beef in here, ground beef in here, and I've got a ton of onion in here, that, and I'm gonna reduce it as well. I'm gonna like reduce it, then a lot of tomatoes is a good idea. I found that just like 1 can wasn't enough, and I wanted more, and then this is probably slightly edging on, whoa, that's a lot of tomato. So like the happy in between probably comes from like this and like half of that, but I'm like, nah, dude, let's put like the whole thing in. So we've maybe got like 20% more tomato than is necessary, possibly, but I adore it, to be honest. I adore it. And as I said, I'm gonna let it cook for quite a while and reduce quite a bit, so there ends up being less there, but kind of like a real concentrated taste. Either way, it works for me. This is real comfort food for me. This is like real comfort food for me. This is stuff that I can just like absolutely devour. I can scran down on, as we say. Looking for some of the seasonings here. The oreganos. Oh god. Spread the roll. Some of this in here. Get quite a lot as well. Get quite a lot. Da-da-da-da-da. I'm loving it. Really hard to see. I have to just work on sound because it's hard for me to completely see what's going on here with the visibility of the Fursuit head. The visibility of the Fursuit head. With this video getting on, but I mean, maybe someone will take joy in it. I've said this before in videos, you know, the intention of where I'd like to exist as my videos is I would love to be that background ramble. Please let me know in the comments right now if I'm your background ramble, but I'd really love to be just like that video that you have on the background while maybe you're cooking, or maybe you're in the bath, or I don't know, you know, or maybe you're folding your laundry. I would feel so privileged to be just like the background voice that's there. while you were doing these things. And maybe your interest kind of like drifts in and out or whatever. But I think that's kind of cozy. You know what I mean? Rather than me just being like, you know, this is what I'm here to talk about today. Ding, 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 ding. I think the idea of me being here as a background voice for you is strangely intimate. Tomato. Okay, cool. Last thing I want to put in here. Where is it? Where is it? Yeah, wine. Red wine. What the UV40 for you? Ooh, that was a lot. I'm gonna let this reduce. There's actually one final thing I want to put in this, but we're not quite there yet. Is when I cook up my spaghetti, put a little bit of the pasta water in there. Let's go. Alright, I'm gonna let this cook up. I'm gonna let this reduce a bit. I'll cook my spaghetti. I'll have my nice meal. I'll bag it up. If you made it through this video, I'm really curious. I'm really curious because it's just me experimenting something new here. Definitely gonna do more of these on stream, but there's probably gonna be more of them which are like videos like this. Maybe I should come into them with a topic rather than just sort of rambling on about my parents and what I was doing and my system on Google Calendar. But I don't know. I'm gonna finish this one up. Thank you again for the attention. Thank you for your time and attention. I'll catch you soon. I gotta run over there and stop the video. I'm going to stop the video.